Junkyard lay far beyond the bright lights of the human city. It was a place of rust, silence, and forgotten dreams. Broken ships from many worlds rested there like dead giants. Metal towers leaned against each other, whispering in the cold wind. People said only danger lived in the junkyard. But Elias came here every day. He was a human scavenger, poor but stubborn, searching for scrap to sell so he could survive. Elias moved carefully between the metal piles. His boots crunched on broken glass and wires. His jacket was old and torn. But it kept the cold away. Life had been hard on him. Yet it had not taken his kindness. As the sun sank low, shadows grew longer and darker. The junkyard felt heavier at night. Every sound echoed, every movement felt watched. Elias climbed over the broken wing of an alien ship. Its surface was burned and cracked from an old battle. He wiped sweat from his face and kept moving. Then he heard something strange. At first, he thought it was the wind. But the sound came again, soft, weak, and painful. It was a cry. Elias stopped, his heart beating faster. The junkyard was full of traps. Curiosity could get a man killed. Still, the sound came once more, this time quieter. Like someone trying not to be heard, Elias followed the sound toward a pile of twisted alien wreckage. Oil dripped slowly from broken pipes. The air smelled of rust and old fire. He pushed aside a loose metal panel and froze. Something was hiding inside. Two faint glowing eyes stared back at him. Fear filled them, deep and sharp. As Elias looked closer, his breath caught. Curled between the metal was a young alien girl. She looked part human, part dragon. Small wings were folded tightly around her thin body. Her scales were dull and cracked, once bright but now fading. Her ribs showed clearly as she breathed. Each breath looked painful. She tried to crawl away when she saw him, but her body was too weak. She collapsed with a quiet whimper. Elias raised his hands slowly. He stepped back and spoke in a calm voice, using simple words, gentle sounds. He told her he would not hurt her. The dragon girl hissed softly. A tiny flame sparked from her mouth, then vanished. Even her fire was starving. Elias felt a heavy weight in his chest. He knew stories about dragon species. They were rare, powerful, and hunted across the galaxy. Many were sold, many were killed. If anyone found her here, she would not survive the night. Elias had a choice: walk away and live, or stay and risk everything. He looked at her shaking body. At the fear in her eyes, she was not a weapon. She was not a monster, she was a child. Slowly, Elias reached into his bag. He pulled out his last food ration, dried protein strips and nutrient gel. It was all he had. His stomach tightened with hunger. But he opened the pack anyway. He placed the food on the ground and stepped back. The dragon girl stared at it. Her nose twitched as she smelled it. Fear and hunger fought inside her. After a long moment, hunger won. She crawled forward slowly. Her hands shook as she grabbed the food. She ate fast, desperate, like she feared it might disappear. Tears rolled down her face as strength slowly returned to her body. Her wings loosened slightly. Her breathing became steadier. Elias sat quietly nearby, watching, protecting, feeling both relief and fear. The junkyard was not safe. Gangs controlled this place. They hunted rare tech and rare lives. A dragon girl would bring them a fortune. As if the universe wanted to test his choice, voices echoed through the metal paths. Rough laughter, heavy boots hitting steel. The dragon girl froze. Her body pressed against Elias without thinking. Her claws gripped his jacket tightly. Elias felt her fear move into him. His heart pounded in his chest. He stood up slowly and stepped in front of her. He had no weapon. He chose to protect her. The voices came closer through the junkyard. Metal shifted under heavy boots. Flashlights cut sharp lines through the darkness. The smell of smoke and oil filled the air. Elias stood still, his body tense. Every sound felt louder now. Every second felt dangerous. The dragon girl hid behind him. Her claws trembled against his jacket. Her wings pressed tight to her back. She knew these sounds. Hunters. The men laughed as they walked. Their voices were rough and careless. They talked about money, about rare finds, about selling anything that could not fight back. Elias felt anger rise inside him, but he pushed it down. Anger would get them both killed. One of the men shouted that he saw movement. The flashlights turned their way. Bright white light hit Elias in the face. There he was, one poor scavenger standing in the open. Hands empty, heart racing, the men slowed. They smiled when they saw him, easy target. One of them stepped forward and asked what Elias was hiding. His voice was calm but cruel. He already knew something was there. Elias lifted his hands slowly. He said there was nothing worth taking. Just scrap and broken metal, the men laughed. They did not believe him. Behind Elias, the dragon girl let out a soft, frightened sound. Too quiet for the men, but loud enough for Elias. He shifted his stance, blocking her completely. His body became a wall, thin, weak, but unmoving. The leader narrowed his eyes. He told Elias to move aside. He said the junkyard did not belong to him. Elias shook his head. His voice was steady, even though his hands shook. He said some things are not for sale. The men stepped closer, one reached for his weapon. In that moment, the dragon girl reacted. Fear turned into instinct. Her eyes flared bright gold. A weak but real flame escaped her mouth. It hit the ground and hissed. The men froze, then they smiled wider. A dragon alive. They spoke excitedly now. Talking about prices, about collectors, about cages. Elias felt sick. He could not let that happen. Without thinking, he stepped forward. He spread his arms wide and shouted for them to leave. The sound surprised everyone, even himself. The men laughed again. But this time, there was caution. Suddenly, a loud horn echoed across the junkyard. A warning siren, security patrols. The men cursed. They did not want attention, not tonight. The leader pointed at Elias and promised they would return. He said the dragon would belong to them. Soon, they backed away into the darkness, their lights disappearing one by one. Silence returned, heavy and shaking. Elias dropped to his knees, his legs weak, his breath uneven. The dragon girl slowly stepped around him. She looked at him with wide eyes, confused, scared, alive. She reached out carefully and touched his arm. Her touch was warm, not dangerous. Elias looked at her and smiled softly. He told her she was safe for now. She did not understand the words, but she understood the tone. The sirens faded in the distance. But danger still lived here. Elias knew one thing clearly. They could not stay in the junkyard. He packed his bag quickly. He gave her another small food pack. She ate slower this time, watching him. When she finished, she followed him without being asked. Her steps were quiet. Trust had begun. They moved through narrow paths of scrap, avoiding open spaces, avoiding lights as they walked. The dragon girl glanced up at the stars. She made a soft sound, sad and lonely. Elias realized she was far from home, lost in a galaxy that hunted her. He promised himself something then. Even if it cost him everything, he would not abandon her. Because humans were feared across the stars. Not just for their weapons, but for their choices. And tonight, in a forgotten junkyard, a human chose to protect the weak. The galaxy would remember that choice.